Hello, and welcome to Conquering Finale. My name is Jason Lafredo, and once again, we are at it cooperating with chords. We are going to be taking a deeper dive into the Fretboard Editor today, which is exciting. So to get there, just select any chord and go to the chord definition dialog box, and we can get there one of two ways, directly by pressing the Edit button next to where the ID is, and that will take us to the editor for that particular fretboard group. Or we could press Select, which will give us the Fretboard Selection dialog box, and from here we could go to Edit directly to edit the one that's selected, or we could duplicate this and edit, or we can create a new one. And in this case, let's create a new one and pull up the Fretboard Editor. Now initially you won't be showing the groups, but if you press this button you'll show the groups. And of course it's important to realize and understand that when you're creating a fretboard, you're actually creating a whole group of fretboards, because every suffix fretboard needs to have 12 different versions of it for each pitch, right? So you're not only creating an E minor fretboard here, you're creating an F minor, F sharp minor, G minor, etc. In this case, I'm about to create an alternate version of E minor, so I'm creating alternate versions of all of the minor chords here. So the first thing that we can do is name this, so I'm going to call this minor alternate 1. And next thing we can do is we can choose the instrument. So you don't have to have just fretboards just for the standard guitar. You can select this menu and select from any of these preset instruments that Finale gives you to use. And when you select a different instrument, like let's say we choose the 7-string guitar, we will actually get a 7-string fretboard. If we choose something like the ukulele, we'll get a 4-string fretboard. So these are all matching the correct instruments, and the tunings will be correct as well, which is important. And actually next to this there's a button here for edit instruments, and this will allow you to edit the standard instruments that comes with Finale, but you can also add your own custom fretted instruments if you need to. I did a whole video on this in the Managing the Score Manager tutorial, so I'll put a link at the bottom of the description to that particular video, which would allow you to create your own fretted instruments. And there's implications for the fretted instruments, not only for the fretboard editor, but for the tab staffs as well. So there's actually 2 different ways to get to this particular dialog box. But once you have your instrument chosen, we can start creating some fretboards. And let's just talk about some of the options here. First of all, this first one, multiple items per string. This will literally let you do that. It doesn't always make sense to do something like that, but you certainly can. But with that unchecked, you can only actually put one thing on a string, or, well, one, I'll get into that in a little bit, because you can put fingerings on the string as well, but that's something different. Below that, we actually have the control over how many frets this particular fretboard is showing. So if we wanted an extra fret here, we could choose 5, and you'll see that it will add a fret to the bottom there. And we can choose 6. We'll get a 6-fretted fretboard diagram. I think 4 is usually pretty standard, so we'll just stick with that for now. Below that, we have the fretboard number. So this is going to, if you check this, it will show first fret, and it will take away that thick line, which otherwise would represent the nut of the guitar. And we can, of course, choose the number. So if this fretboard needs to be starting at fret 3, we'll just enter the 3 here, but just make sure that show fretboard number is selected. Otherwise, it will go back to just showing the nut in this case. So that's what that does. Below that, we have these options for view, and we do have some options to, increase the size of it or decrease the size of it depending on what you need to do. This is only for display. This is just so you can kind of see what's going on. And the same thing with style. We can, change the style, but this is only changing the style of the view. This is not necessarily changing the default state of when you enter this fretboard, you're going to get this style. This is literally just so you can see what it looks like in this particular window. On the left-hand side, we have all of the tools that are available to put items on the fretboard, including this hand grabber tool, which is just going to allow us to move it around if we need to. There's an eraser, which is not going to do anything because we don't have anything in there. And then we have things that can go on the string. We have the open. And these items can go anywhere. They can go above, below the string, on the string. It doesn't matter. If you click once, it'll put it on. If you click in a different place on that same string, it will move it. If you click it again, it will be removed. But also the eraser would do that as well. So if you needed to click the eraser, you get rid of that as well. Then we have the closed string here, or the closed dot works the same way. We have the X, and again, all of these 4 items right here can go anywhere. They can go above, below, on the string. It doesn't matter. Finale is not really too concerned about how this works. Just concerned about making it work. So here's a diamond that you can put anywhere. Again, anywhere you can place it anywhere you want, whether it makes sense or not. The fingering numbers on the right can be added to a string. So if I wanted to put a 2 below that for some reason, although again, I don't know if that necessarily makes sense, these numbers and the T for thumb sort of work as their own set of groups where you can only have one fingering on a string at a time, but you can have a fingering and another item on the string at the same time. And then the bar, so if we set something up like this, the way the bar works is that you just click once and drag, and then release, and it will put the bar in the appropriate spot. And that bar can, again, go anywhere. If we wanted it to go at the top, again, click once, drag, and release, and that bar will be put in the correct place. All right. We do have an option here to clear items, which will just clear everything all at once, which is nice. And again, Finale is not being particularly intelligent about all of these things. So, you could check multiple items per string, and this will sort of allow you to create a lot of nonsense if you really want to. So obviously this makes absolutely no sense whatsoever, but Finale will indeed allow you to do something like that. All right, and of course we can always just clear the items. So what I want to do here is create an alternate version of the minor chord starting with the E, with E minor. So make sure that the E is selected, otherwise you're going to be building an E minor chord on the wrong chord root, which would be disastrous in the end. In this case, this is going to go on fret 2, this particular shape. And now from here on out, bear with me because I'm not a guitarist, so I'm relying on some things that I found on the internet for these shapes. So if this makes absolutely no sense, just be aware that I'm only showing you how to do this. I'm not showing you necessarily how to do it correctly. All right, but I believe that this is an alternate version of an E minor chord. And so now we're set to go. Now again, we have to create different versions of the minor chord for every single one of these, but there's some tricks to this. But if you don't want to, you can just finish and be done with it and click OK. And now you'll have this E minor shape available to you in the minor suffix. And you click OK, and now you've got that E minor there. However, if you try and create a different minor chord, just be aware that if you try and do B minor here, and then try and switch to that second fretboard ID, you'll realize that it's blank, right? Because I didn't fill anything in that B minor slot, right? So if I were to edit this and again look at the group, you see that B is highlighted, but it's completely empty. Again, here is the E that I just finished, but the B is empty. So I didn't quite complete the fretboard group. So let's talk about that a little bit, and it has to do with a bunch of these options down here. So with every single one of these pitches, they can be locked and unlocked, and once they're locked, they can't be futzed with, although it's very simple to just click on the lock icon and unlock it. Finale gives you this generate button, which the way that this works is that once you have one chord written here, it will generate chords basically up the neck, sort of. So whereas this E minor chord starts on the 2nd fret, the F minor chord will be pretty much the same shape, except it will be exactly the same shape, except on the 3rd fret. And it will sort of keep going. And in this case, because I don't have any other chords here, it's going to go all the way up the neck to the E flat minor. Although I think they might put the E flat minor on the 1st fret and the D minor on the 0 fret, I guess it were. But if you add an extra shape to the B minor or something, the way that Finale is going to do this is it's going to fill out what's ever closest. So the C minor is going to be generated from the B minor, the F minor will be generated from the E minor, etc. And you know, if you fill out 4 or 5 of these chords and then press generate, that's probably, you know, the best way to go about this. For now, I just have this single chord here, so if I press generate, you'll see that it will fill out all of these chords here, and you can see what's going on. Here's F minor. It's the same shape on the 3rd fret, 4th fret, 5th fret, 6th fret, 7th fret, 8th fret, etc. Now this may or may not be what you want, so it's up to you to decide whether this makes sense for you. And let's see what it did with D minor. Yeah, I put it back at the nut with the open string, which is what I was hoping it would do. And then D sharp minor appears on the 1st fret. So it's the same shape, basically, is what Finale is doing by generating all of this. And then we have some options here to lock them all. So when you generate, the only one that's locked is the one that you had created. The rest are unlocked. It's kind of hard to see, but the little icon is unlocked. So you can press lock all, and now they're all locked. And whenever you press generate, nothing will ever change here. We can unlock them all. And then from here, what we can do is, if we wanted to, we could change the B minor to a different shape and then generate, and that will, you know, generate from the B minor all of the unlocked ones. So there's a little bit of play going on here, where if you lock certain ones, like if I didn't want to touch the E minor, the F minor, the F sharp minor, the G minor, or the G sharp minor, I could lock those guys, recreate my B minor, and generate, and it would you know, generate on all these unlocked fretboards here. We can also clear the unlocked. So in this case, you know, you saw me lock E through G sharp, and when I press clear unlocked, it cleared all of the other ones. So again, from here I can maybe choose an A minor shape and generate that from A minor to E flat minor. So that's sort of how the whole situation there works. And the last thing I should have mentioned is we do have this button here for playing. And basically what this will do is we'll play the chord as you have it here, so you can kind of hear it. And, you know, I did okay. That sounds like an E minor chord, right? And you can go to F, and it will play the F minor, etc. Just kind of to double check your work, I guess. The weird thing about this is there's a crazy little thing going on here where the playback function will use the instrument that exists on staff 1. And that's kind of strange to me. I always understood you know, every staff has a name, and you can see that guitar, instrument here, guitar, has staff name, but underneath those names are actually numbers. So if I were to delete the name itself, you'll see that now the name is staff 1. Now, I've always understood that it doesn't matter whether or not the number is 1, 2, 3, 4, or whatever. It doesn't matter what order these staff numbers are in. You know, Finale will handle the score however you have it set up. But the only implication of this staff 1 number is that if you do not have a staff 1, it won't have anything to play back those sounds in that fretboard editor, which is sort of strange to me. It's not choosing to play back whichever staff you've chosen from. It's only playing back from staff 1. So I only mention that because just in case you have for some reason deleted staff 1, and I've done this all the time. You delete staffs and then add new ones, and when you add new ones, it doesn't always necessarily add staff 1. So if you end up with a file that does not have staff 1, you're gonna not be able to hear the chords when they're played back in the fretboard editor like that. All right, just a little word of warning in that regard. So that's sort of the basic functionality of the fretboard editor. Kind of what I wanted to do was create something new. I want to create a new set of ukulele fretboards for you, just so you can understand sort of how this works. So I've just typed in the G chord for the ukulele, and you can see the problem right away is that the fretboard it adds is for a guitar, which clearly doesn't make sense. And again, you know, Finale only comes out of the box with fretboards for the standard guitar. So if you do want to use fretboards for your ukulele, you would have to create an entire set of them. And I'm just going to show you how to do a simple set of major chords for the ukulele. So I've selected the fretboard selection for the G major chord here. And again, you'll see the options I have available for the standard guitar. But as we know, I want to create a ukulele one. So let's do that. So we're going to click Create. I'm going to call this Major. And I don't really need to be too specific about it, because if once I change this to ukulele, where it says this will change once I OK out of these windows, where it says simple major triad colon standard guitar, instead it will say major colon ukulele. So you will know that you're looking at a ukulele fretboard. Also, you'll see the preview and it will be 4 strings, so it's all good. You don't have to be too specific with the name here. So now I've got my ukulele. The ukulele is set up with the correct tuning already, so you don't have to worry about that. And what I'm going to do is create a basic set of major chords for the ukulele. So let's start with A, and I'm just looking at a chart here to make sure I get this right. And open string there, and that should be an A chord. The next one I need to create is C, and this will be first 3 open strings, followed by that fret, and then I will create a D chord, which will be 2nd fret, and open string here. Oops, not there, there. There we go, and then I will create an F chord, which will have, let's see, this one, and then these 2 strings are open. And I need a G chord, which will be first open string, and then this one, and this one. All right, so you see I've created 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 chords out of 12, right? So what I'm going to do is allow Finale to generate the rest of them, which, as you know, will just move the shapes up 1 fret for the closest one that it finds, right? And incidentally, when you do create your frets like this and move on, you'll see that it will automatically lock for you, which is kind of handy. You don't need to manually lock those. So as you can see, the empty ones are unlocked. The filled in ones are locked. So all we have to do is click generate, and you'll see that now I have ukulele chords for all 12 pitches. There's B flat, B, C, C sharp. Again, it's just 1 fret away. D, D flat or E flat, D sharp is 1 fret away. E is 1 more fret away. There's F, F sharp, G flat, G, and A flat. So that's kind of how that works. And of course, we can lock it just to make sure we don't make any errors. And I've just created a set of major chord fretboards for the ukulele. And we press OK. And now you'll see that this fretboard exists as one of the options for the major chord in this particular suffix. So we can choose from the guitar major or the ukulele major, right? And so now we press select, and it fills in ID 5 because that is indeed the 5th fretboard there. And click OK. And if I redraw, there we go. You'll see that now I have a ukulele fretboard diagram for the key for the chord of G. And of course, if I add an A chord here and choose the other fretboard, there we go, select, we'll have the ukulele A chord. And of course, we know that we can streamline this a little bit by typing C colon F5, because I know that the 5th fretboard is the ukulele fretboard now for the major chords, right? D colon F5, right? So now you can see I've got a set of major chords for the ukulele, which is nice. A couple other miscellaneous things I want to point out. When you're using different suffixes, let's say, let's find the 7th suffix, which is 25 here. As you'll know, a lot of the other suffixes will only have 1 fretboard group on it. And in this case, the 7th suffix only has this 1 fretboard. We can import the fretboard groups from any other suffix that we want using this select suffix. And it says exactly that. Copy fretboards from another suffix, select suffix. And it will allow you to choose any of these suffixes to copy the fretboards from. And in addition to this, this looks very similar to the suffix selection dialog box. The only difference is that there's actually 2 other options here at the top for default major fretboards and default minor fretboards, because technically a major chord doesn't have a suffix, so they had to sort of add a group for the major chord fretboards. Now, the minor chord usually does have a suffix, but in Finale, a lowercase letter is also a minor chord, so they sort of needed to do this one as well. So there's a default minor and a default major fretboard set of groups. So what we can do for that seventh chord is import the fretboards from that from that normal major chord. And what it will do is it will add all 5 of those fretboards, because remember I added that 5th one for the ukulele, right? And from here, you can do whatever you want. In this case, I don't really need these first 4. I just need the ukulele, and I could edit this major chord fretboard group, and I can call this 7th, and create a 7th chord fretboard group for the ukulele. I'm not going to go through all of this right now because I feel like I've taken up a lot of your time. But the simple thing to do is just to, change the fretboards a little bit to create the A7 chord in this case. Oops, I'm in the wrong one. See, I got a little bit ahead of myself and I screwed it up. So anyway, but that's how it works. You can import the suffix from any or import the fretboard groups from any other suffix into the suffix that you need to deal with, and then edit from there. So that's also available as an option as well. So yeah, that's a lot to cover. I'm just double checking my notes here to make sure I've got it all. I think I have. The one thing that kind of stinks about Finale is that it only provides you with the fretboards for the standard guitar. So, if you do need to do something like fretboards for the ukulele like this, you are going to be stuck creating your own set of fretboards. Now, fretboards are part of the suffix library, and I was sort of doing a little bit of research to find out if there are third-party suffix libraries that have fretboard groups for different instruments, and from what I can find, I really haven't found any yet. So I'm not even sure that you can find them to purchase or whatever. But maybe some of your friends have fretboard libraries or something. So it's just one sort of limitation to Finale. They don't give you a whole lot in the fretboard library to use, other than stuff for the standard guitar. So it is what it is. But that's using the Fretboard Editor. It's actually not too difficult to use once you understand it. But as I mentioned, the big downfall is that there's not a lot of stuff in the default file. So. All right, so thanks for watching. This has been the Fretboard Editor. I hope this has helped. And come back, and I think the next one I'm going to talk about is fretboard styles, so that'll be fun. And I look forward to that, and I will see you on the next video.